Hello, this is Kara from Lady Kara Tarot, and I had been thinking yesterday and today, I could do my end of the month wrap up, even though it's only the 28th. And I thought, maybe it's too soon, but maybe I could get started on it. And then I saw that Mand from Mystic Mand has already posted hers, so I'm like, okay, I can do it now. I'm that way a lot of times in my life. So I am not an innate leader. I wait for someone else to do it, and then it's like, I take off. But, nobody wants to be the first one at the buffet, but second, I'm in. So this is my June wrap up. As with many of you, it's been quite hot here. I do have a question. Maybe some of you Brits can tell me. You all are in your houses and talking about excruciatingly hot it is. So I'm wondering if central air conditioning is not a feature in a lot of British homes. So you could tell me that. It is here, but you can see I'm still sweating. But that our house is 73 instead of 100. We keep it on the warmer side inside, although for some people that's fine for summer, but because my mother needs it warmer because she's older. And even at between 74 and 75, she still has blankets on. So I'm just going to dive in to, this is my deck of the month, decks for June, new decks that have come in June, other new things that have come in June. You can see I'm in my bedroom with my blue walls, and the floor is done now. So we still have one more phase where the touching up of the white trim around the baseboards has to be done because the floor has been in. And then I get to start really, I think this next week I'll be analyzing what's really going to come back in here. I've been changing things around a bit. My room has, I think I said this before, I moved back home from a 2-bedroom apartment, and my room was the storage room for everything from my apartment. So as things were moved out of my closets for this painting, 2 other rooms are filled with boxes. And I don't want that coming back in here. And a lot of it, my craft stuff, I've been a professional seamstress, a professional knitter. I have all of those supplies. I hope that my shoulder will be in a condition that I will be able to get back to them one day. All of those supplies were in here. So anyway, that's that. So my monthly practices, I'm continuing my affirmations of the day with a scripture card and a quote card. I'm continuing to use the Distant Past Tarot and the Journey Tarot. The Distant Past Tarot I'm using with the Contemplative Tarot by Brittany Muller for scripture quotes, and the Journey Tarot, I'm using the poetry, the poetic descriptions that Tegan Michael Turner has in that book. Every once in a while, there's a day when they seem more like the daily cautionary, the daily caution or the daily warning, but so far, it's working very well. And I'm really enjoying the Journey Tarot. And I did do another episode of my storytelling where I just tried basic storytelling with 4 cards to give an example of that, because I had been asked to do that. I think it was by Jay at Iridescent Tarot. Asked me to do that. And the next step would be integrating a simple story with the meaning of the tarot cards. And so that will be on the horizon at some point. I did another episode of my continuing, it's going to be a year-long study of Tarot de Marseille. I've told you before, I'm using 6 books. That's fine. So that will be continuing. My focus deck of the month was the Moon Jube Tarot, which is bright and beautiful, and it's a very easy reader, even though the imagery is different from a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith because it's very kind of mod, and this, it really feels very 70s, 1970s to me, because it's this mix of really kind of Haight-Ashbury and the British, Twiggy period and Victorian. So it has all those things kind of blended together with really bright, vibrant colors. And so it's an easy reader, and it's one that's easy to just, because of that, it's easy to just pull it out and read with it. It doesn't make great demands on you, and there's plenty to work with in terms of images. I'm trying to find my favorite card from this deck. Watch it be at the back. And there's a nice mix of racial diversity and representation. And how often can you say that the Ten of Wands is your favorite card in a deck? I just love this representation. So that's my focus deck of the month, the Moon Jube Tarot. I got it from the Kickstarter. Pretty much as soon as mine is delivered, it went mass market, which is good for her because she had an inordinate difficulty with her printers and the shipping. And so I was really happy for her that it went mass market. For the decks that I'm working with this month, kind of rotating them throughout the month, I am back to my alphabetical rotation where I'm still in the A's. Yes, I'm still in the A's. So I have the Anima Mundi Tarot and the Aquarian Tarot. Now it's interesting, I just did a reading yesterday, with these two together. I don't usually use tarot decks together. Both of these decks individually I have found to be a little cold, a little distant. Very pretty in different ways, but it was very interesting that when I used them together, they kind of opened up more, I felt. It may also have been the layout that I was using. You're going to notice a lot of cuts because I'm getting up and getting things. And so then, scheduled for this month, because I basically, even though I'm no longer using a weekly deck in that way, and in that structure, I still am putting my weekly decks for the month and then just mixing them all up throughout the month. And then I have my 2 Jane Austen decks. I recently featured this in a walkthrough. It's the tarot that's not really a tarot. It's structured like a card deck, and excuse me. It's structured like a normal playing card deck, but then there are banners that give you the major assignment, except they left out 2 of the majors, so I have assigned them so that I have all 22 of the majors. That was a weird choice to make. If you're going to do the banners, assign them all. So we've got them all. So then the only thing we're missing is knights. So I do read the jacks as a combination of page and knight when I'm using this. And because of the size and because of the book, The book doesn't really, it gives you just a sentence or two. It doesn't do the positive and reverse. It gives you more of a sentence or two. It gives you more of a feeling. So as I have said, I consider this, or in my mind, I work with this more like a Sibylla deck, even though it has those other elements that I can work with. And I do read playing cards, so that helps. And then this is a Jane Austen tarot, which I have very much enjoyed. It has colored suits. It's a pip deck. It has colored suits. I did have to write the names of the characters on their representations because they were very thoughtfully chosen. And so I did want to be sure to incorporate the character and kind of the plot line of the character as it applied to the reading when I was doing the reading. I think this reads quite well, and it's interesting, and it's definitely something that would be easy to take out. And Captain Wentworth, I had this dream of doing beautiful calligraphy and a light handwriting on the cards. But when I got down to it, I wanted it to be large enough to see easily, and I used markers. And then Captain Wentworth is such a dang long name that I ended up I couldn't get the whole name on there. And so that card looks like a mess, but it doesn't matter. It's for me now. I mean, nobody's going to want a deck. I think I got this for $10 anyway. I got it on sale at Borders Books, for greatly reduced price. And so, it's not worth trying to sell. Could potentially give it away at some point. But so these are my Jane Austen decks. And I've seen the other decks and I don't feel that tempted by them. Perhaps more on that later. But I didn't stop there. That was what was scheduled for this month. But then it turned out that my purchases this month were largely animal theme related. And the other deck that arrived at the end of last month that was in this month was the Animal Totem Tarot. Again, I got this used for a song. It has a big Hawken book in here. It's confusing when you go to look at it on eBay because sometimes they'll show the book. Sometimes they'll show this. And in a photo, it looks like your average flip-top box. And you're thinking, well, why is that just the little flip-top box? And it's not. This is a big box. And then it has this inside to hold the cards. The artwork is by Eugene Smith, and I think it's really quite wonderful. It's animals doing animal things, but with the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery, enough of the imagery, like that one's not necessarily. Okay, that's the Nine of Pentacles. Interesting, there's always this conversation. Some people see a wall in the Rider-Waite-Smith Nine of Pentacles. I've looked at that very closely. I don't see a wall. I see shrubbery, which could be up against a wall, or it could be the shrubbery of a garden that she's walking through. But anyway, so clearly that's where the wall comes from, that image of the Nine of Pentacles. Probably my least favorite Nine of Pentacles, other than Robert Place's Tower of Coins. So it's basically, I love the animal art. This one worries me. I'm like, when is the moose going to be able to get up and get air? I'm so feeble. That's the Queen of Cups. And I'm like, and I don't know enough about moose to know if they can hold their breath for a long time. I'm like, oh, is the moose having difficulty? But so I really, is that a tick? I think it is. I mean, so I really enjoy this. I really do like the illustrations of this. Um, this deck is kind of what I was hoping the Woodland Warden's Tarot would be. It's a lot closer to the Oracle than the one that was produced. And the wonderful thing about the book and the wonderful thing about reading with this deck is there is a message from each animal as a totem animal. And it's a significant paragraph, and it's really wonderful. Really wonderful. And then there are ideas about family relationships, health and well being, journal prompts, business and career. It's it is a wonderful guidebook, and that just augments the fact that the art is also quite wonderful. And you have to put up with this weird box or get a bag and keep the book separately. And then the other deck, this is one of the decks that I added this month. And I'll just mention it now and show it in the other group, is the Anima Tarot de Marseille, which is fast becoming a favorite. I really like it. And I added that to my working rotation for this month, although I think I only did 2 readings with it, but it's I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it tremendously. And then the 2 oracles that I worked with were, ironically, both influenced by Martin at Marty's Tarot Musings. I can never remember people's channel names, I'm sorry. But Martin influenced me on both of these. You know that the Mother Mary Oracle, I think, is hard to use in a reading personally. I mean, I did use it in some readings. I think it works much better as a standalone card for a day or a week because because of the way the book is written and the way the image is presented. They're all versions of Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, as different kinds of protection. Our Lady of the Sacred Union, Our Lady of the Creative Choices. And then the way that the book is written, it just works, I think, so much better as a daily pull. That's me. And then the incredible Enchanted Wheel Oracle, which I've been using with everything. It's quite beautiful, and it's round. And it's seasonal. It has the seasons, and it has Celtic lore, and it's pretty darn wonderful. And I really like the illustration style too. Illustrations, artwork by Sabina Espinet. So those were all my pre-programmed decks for the month. Those were all the decks that I was working with this month. And then I did throw in a couple other things as they came by to do a reading. If you've been following me, you know this, at least this past week, I've cut down significantly. My mother was able to go into respite care again around the 20th. Let's just say the 20th for ease. And so the whole first week, of course, there are days when there are just things that are lined up that you have to do, but the whole first week, I decompressed. After about 2 days, I started to get sick because your body kind of says, oh, okay, you can finally let go now. Even 3 and 4 days in, I was waking up in the middle of the night wondering why she hadn't rung her bell, because I'm so used to being awakened in the middle of the night. And then it would take me a while to reorient and remember she's not here these weeks. So it's been really, really important. Now, when you add that to the fact that the house is still very disorganized from the shifting of things out of my room to get my room redone, it's an odd kind of dynamic. So this coming week, I plan to start trying to dig through and address some of those things. Because my mother comes back the week of the 6th, and my cousin comes to visit for a few days. She digs right in, and she's so helpful. I'm going to start crying if I talk about it. But so it's not at all that I have to clean up for her, but I do need to create a space for her. She needs to be able to get on the bed at some point in that room. So, of course, as I have mentioned, that I came across a feral kitten outside and spent many days getting the feral kitten acclimated to me. And he is here now. His name is Sasquatch, Sassy. He has been starting to run around a little bit more. Look at is it just me? I think his paws are big. I think he's going to be a big kitty. And he's a sweetheart. You may be able, I'm sorry, the fan is on, that's making a noise, but he's a snuggler and a purrer. He just walked over to me, that's huge. That is huge, him coming to me. That it's been a lot of slow process. And then, of course, he's at the age where he wants to tear around anyway. So there might be times when he doesn't come to me, not because he's afraid of me, but because he's enjoying tearing around. He's at that tearing around age. So he's just adorable. He has white mittens on the front paws and white gloves on the back. And, yeah. And I think in the video I did the other day, I showed pictures of he is playing with my Great Dane already. So she gets along really well with Muse, my black cat. They sleep together all the time. Muse now hates the kitten, hates me, hates life, hates everybody. Muse is the house manager, and Muse is displeased. But Muse was equally displeased when Dudley came here, and then less than 6 weeks later, they're playing around, running around the house together all night, every night. So I expect this acclimation to be pretty quick too. So other things, it's hot, it's summer. I love Mediterranean blue tile prints to wear for the summer, so I got 4 linen dresses. That, because I did cut down on my decks a bit. I think I bought fewer decks, and they were either extremely cheap or extremely expensive. But compared to last month, I only brought in about a half. Of course, that's not saying much because last month was huge. Um, yes, he's playing with my earrings. Um, so now I'll get to the decks that I brought in. And I've shown several of them. So um, I've already shown you the Animal Totem Tarot. That was a used deck that I got for $10, I think, from thrift books. It's usually either thrift books, Abe books, or eBay. Unless occasionally I've gotten something from Mercari. So that's where I'm usually. That's one of the first places I look for deck when I know it's not a new deck. I did finally get the Mysteries of the Black Madonna, and it's still in the packing box. It's not that I haven't gotten it out. I did show it in I did my mid-year wrap-up. That's what it was. Because I didn't know if I was going to be making any videos at all this week. As I was saying, I've significantly cut down with my intentional pulling back and resting. I've cut down on making videos. So the Mysteries of the Black Madonna Tarot, the shipping was, I scared him. But that's appropriate. That's an appropriate response to the shipping. It's like, I want to say, if you see me limping, it's because I had to chop off my foot to pay for that shipping. Winning. Our tariffs are just so fantastic. And then the Anima TDM, I was influenced by Ellen at Moomin Tarot. I think this was the second time that she showed it that I just realized, oh, animal heads on people bodies and beautiful colors. I love it. And I have loved it. And as I said, this is one of the ones I incorporated immediately this month into my readings. And really, really loving it. The Wise Earth Medicine Tarot. I have also, this was influenced by two people actually. Tarot with Mims, hi Mims, has shown this a couple times. And there's so many things I like about it. It has not just brightly colored backgrounds, but patterns in the background. And I really like that kind of textile effect that having the pattern background gives, with the animal portraits that are really, really beautifully done in this and beautifully chosen. And then like a forest green, emerald green gilding. It's a very, very pretty deck. I happened to pair it in a reading just the other day with the Erica's Lenormand of Hope, which has been on my wish list for many, many months. And this may be, I have some pretty Lenormands, I will say, but this is just really lovely. The main characters are dark-skinned, so the young woman and the old woman, and the young man and the older man, and just the artwork is beautiful, beautiful. So obviously I'm not opening the new decks. I might be putting pictures up here or over my face, whatever, as I talk about them. And then there's the deck that just smacked me on the face and read me the riot act and showed me what's what and pointed out my foibles. The Kawaii Tarot. And it made me love it while I was doing it. I was saying, this deck was so chatty for me. As soon as it came out of the box, it's like, finally, I have somebody to talk to. You better be ready to listen. And I don't like what you're wearing. And that's the kind of voice that this has. Then I think some of you know that I have the Naoshi Majors deck. Whoops, I just ripped the box. Okay. So I'm on this perpetual search to find a playing card deck that will coordinate with it. And I found this larger. This is like Oracle card size, but it's still playing card weight. It's cute. And I think it definitely will. Now, I showed another deck, the Mary Albright playing card deck that goes with it very well, but this would be it's still not as large as those cards. Those cards are very large, but it would go with it quite well. And it's just bright and fun. So it would be a way to expand that Majors deck into closer to full-size deck. I don't know why I can't just let Majors decks be what they want to be, but I have trouble with that. And then the last thing to come in this month was, that was the Erica's Lenormand of Hope. But right before that was the last of its kind. Now, I've been on an animal deck kick, and I saw this shown by Sandra at Spirit of Avalon. And it's a round deck with teal blue borders and really sweet animal imagery. And I did not do my due diligence, and it's an AI deck. And it's completely on me. It's easy. I'm not sure if it was noted on this place where I bought it, but I did look it up online first. It's noted in other places. They list the artist as Lynn Lee with AI assistance. Normally, that would make me, if they had lied about it, I would be like, get this out of the house. But they were honest about it, and I do like it. So this may be, I think we all have an AI deck. For those of us who don't want AI decks, I think a lot of us have come across one that breaks the rules for us. And they'll say, like, that looks more like AI to me. Some of the cards just do. So for now, it's staying, and I have worked with it, and it does make for a very pretty display on the table. This would be the other deck that I have is the Baroque Tarot. They were upfront about it initially. When I got that, it's before there was really much discernment about AI decks. And we were just kind of starting to hear about it. They were upfront that 7 of the cards in that deck were created with generative AI. And they can name the 7 cards, to the point that they're making their 2nd edition, and they've made a statement that those 7 cards are being redrawn so that the 2nd edition will be non-AI. Now, I have contacted them twice, publicly and privately, to say, I bought the 1st edition. Will those 7 cards be available so that I can replace them in my first edition deck and have a complete non-AI deck. I don't think that they're going to say yes to that. I think, well, they've been ignoring my, it doesn't surprise me. That's kind of, I think, who they are. Which again, doesn't make me feel great about using the deck, but it is a beautiful deck otherwise. And I think I pretty much know the cards that were created with AI in that deck. Some of them are quite obvious. You know, I give them credit for being upfront from the beginning that, you know, about, and really specific, 7 cards. So all that to say that, so these are my 2 decks that have some AI component to them. And I've been very vocal about how I feel about it. But I guess this is a case of we do what we can when we can. And as I said, this was completely my fault. I just didn't do my due diligence. I hate that we have to be vigilant about it. I hate that. I bought a book, which I did show in my mid-year. It's called The Clinical Use of Tarot Card Imagery in Psychotherapy. It is one of 4 volumes. It, so far I've glanced through it. It does not seem that it's going to be above my head, but it definitely is. If you are not interested in the therapeutic models, you're not going to be happy with this. Like, I just opened it to a page where it said, do not take my word for this. If you are using this as a therapeutic model, you need to do your own research and find and look up the therapeutic models where they have actually verified this. Look up the tests and everything. So in that respect, it is a typical clinical book that says you can't just open this book and say it says so here. This would just be your initial source, and then if you're going to rely on something, a study, you need to go look those studies up and be able to cite those studies, and that's the therapeutic model. It will be interesting. It's one of 4 volumes, I think, and as I said before, I just got 1 volume to see how accessible it is for me, because I may not want to work that hard. And speaking of working hard, I still have 1 more lesson left of my 4 lessons taught by Laetitia Barbier about Carnival at the End of the World. It's been an incredibly informative class, especially because I got this deck at least a year ago, and I had not opened it. I knew that I liked it. I knew that the imagery it speaks to me, but it's foreign, and it's Rider-Waite-Smith based, but it's foreign enough that, and I did also get the book with this. Now I know the book was not initially created with the deck. The book was written by Sarah Faulkner after the deck was out. So it's almost like a fictional work based on the cards. And some of that is, now here, this is an example, the Empress. Will you stop? The Empress is back to us. So this kind of vision of the Empress is quite different from Rider-Waite-Smith. And I would argue that most of the deck is. So you really have to work. This is a case of you have to work with what's on the card, not with what you think it should mean. You can know what the traditional meaning is, but you have to work with what's on the card. And then she gets into a lot of the other creative through lines in all of their work, which are also reflected in this deck. Because she's had a long-term relationship with them. She is actually in a photograph of her is one of the characters in the Drowning World tarot. So it's been a really good, it's exploring this foreign kind of deck with someone that really knows the creators, really understands the world of it, and the kitten's just having a grand old time jumping around. And so that's been wonderful. That has been wonderful, and the resonance for me is that these drawings look very much like costume design sketches, and it is very much a costumey deck. It's a character-based deck is one of the things that she keeps saying about it, and it's true. And so then you have to, and we all have decks that are more like that. And see, for me, because it's drawings, it's illustrations, it's character-driven without being people-y. If it were photographs or realistic-looking digital work, I would get too drawn into the individual face to be able to read with it very well. But because these are illustrations, and it also, I did fashion design illustration, and I did a lot of costume and clothing design, costume and clothing design for a large period of my life, as well as being a professional seamstress and making my own clothes and things like that. So these harken back to some costume design illustrations from the 1700s for me. I can see similarities with that. And indeed, one of the things in this course is she has found these old images that they used as reference images. So it has this historic through line, which again, that's one of my bags, is historic art and historic costumes. And so all of that is, for me, this was an essential way into this deck. If you're someone who's not so much into history, I think you could use the deck in a completely different way on your own. And the book does help. It's not completely non-traditional. It's kind of like a story. For most of the cards, it only gives you about that much. So it's just telling you a little paragraph about that image. But it's more, instead of saying that when this card comes up in your reading, it means this, it's more about the philosophical concepts that come up with this card and the things that you need to think about. I'm trying not to give away too much of her content, but one of the things that she says with this deck, this is the deck where 3 cards is really enough, because you have to look at them so closely and break them down so much. So anyway, if you get a chance to take that course with her again, I highly recommend it. She's brilliant and she's fascinating, and she's very casual as well. So it's very welcoming, and she's great. So that was something that I did that I really have enjoyed this month. So the one thing that I haven't done is a deck of the month. I don't know if this is going to be a surprise to you. Because it certainly came as a surprise to me. of all of the decks that I worked with this month and several that I raved about, this is my deck of the month. I am loving working with this. I have an affection for Sibylla anyway. And so the fact that this strikes me as some sort of blend between playing cards, tarot, and Sibylla is making this really work for me. I do love the drawings because I think the drawings of all the Jane Austen decks that I've seen, I feel that these drawings are the closest to the type of illustration that would have appeared in her books. And so all of that just works very well for me. And this is a tarot deck that is not a tarot deck. It's 53 cards, as I said. Even with the banners that represent one of the majors, we still don't have knights. Oh, here. So this is right at the beginning. So I can, for those of you who haven't seen me go through this before. So here we have the 5 of diamonds. And so we have the banner of the Hierophant. Well, the 5 of Pentacles and the Hierophant don't necessarily read the same way. He's obviously directional, so you can read directionally with this deck. And I think that's Mr. Bingley. Let me look that one up. Oh no, that's Frank Churchill. Okay. So that's Frank Churchill. And so now right away you have multiple elements that don't necessarily fit together that you can use when you're reading this card. So you can either read it as the 5 of Pentacles. You can read it as Frank Churchill. And I guess that's Jane accompanying him. And this was at the time of their duplicity when they were fooling everyone. And then it's the Hierophant. So they don't necessarily mesh together. And for me, what I do with this deck is I try to be aware of all of those. But then I look at the rest of the cards and figure out which one of those things best resonates with the other cards. The other great thing about this deck, of course, is that you could just play a card game with it. You can ignore everything that's on it because it is structured like a playing card deck, which makes it an interesting deck to go on a trip. Now, it's larger. It's what I think of as Sibylla size, which is more like an oracle card size. It has a lovely linen finish. So this, I knew I liked this deck, but clearly there have been other decks that I really liked this month. The new ones don't really come into play because I haven't, even if I have enjoyed working with them, I haven't worked with them enough. So this is my deck of the month. And I thank you for being with me and sharing the ups and downs of June. I will say that the Death card, I mentioned this in a couple readings lately. With what is going on with my mother, the Death card is showing up multiple times a day for me in readings. And often alongside the Ten of Swords. I get to the point where I say, okay, I know. I'm living with this. And I have mentioned before, I'm living with the Death card in a way. My mother has just turned 102, and she is definitely declining. She didn't recognize me when I went in to visit her for about 5 minutes. And then when she did recognize me, oh, hi. So I'm living with the Death card. hovering around me. Sometimes I want to say to the cards, you don't need to keep telling me this. I know this. But I have said recently that I'm coming to a completely different feeling about the death card as release, which I think anyone who's had someone dear to them go through a terminal illness would understand. And so it's not, it's not a scary thing for me now when I'm getting the death card. It's just like, oh yeah, okay. And I do kind of feel like the cards are saying, you've got to be prepared. You've got to be prepared. I'm like, yeah, I'm as prepared as I can be. And tomorrow we'll see what tomorrow will bring. Because I don't do predictive readings. So arguably the cards are giving it to me anyway by giving me that card and the Ten of Swords a lot. So on that note, I hope our July is more temperate and palatable. I mean, some people love hot weather. You people go out there and enjoy the heck out of it, because I don't. It does not. It does not work well with my system. So have a lovely July, and I will see you soon. Thank you for sharing this time with me.